Anthony, do you want to send me a request? There we go. I hope you're all excited. I am super excited to chat with. Send request.
Hey,
Oh, hello, hello.
how are you?
I'm good and you?
I'm good. I'm back home now. I was out in Florida
Oh,
until yesterday afternoon. I got
yes.
back late. I had to go. I passed out. I was dead tired, like dead tired yesterday.
I just wanted to say you seem a little bit tired this morning.
Do I seem
You
tired right now?
yeah.
Oh, I'm actually well rested at the moment. I just was tired last night, but
Oh,
I'm good.
okay.
You're the first person I've talked to like this today. I talked about we did yoga this morning, my wife and I.
Oh
This
wow.
little 15-minute yoga. No, I'm awake. I'm
Yeah.
good. But yesterday, like I got home dead tired. Like I was
Oh man,
smoked.
coach. You did incredible. I saw the people just commenting and just bringing
Anytime.
the fire like usual, just like
I
but no,
tried. The
you did.
crazy part that nobody will know is so there's things that always go on behind the scenes nobody's seeing. So the event was over by like 10, they're like 8 to 10 minutes behind. And so I was like, hey, does my time change? And the guys that run it were like, nope, time doesn't change. You get 48 minutes. I said, cool, count up from 48. Because then I know what slide I got to be at a certain time distinctly, right? So I'm doing
Oh,
my thing. 48 minutes, by the way. So I get to 35 minutes, and all of a sudden the screen goes red and it says, you're over time.
oh man.
So in my head, I still got a good chunk of the speech to complete, right? Because I'm like, well, I got a lot to still talk about. And so
Yeah.
people, it's actually a Brandon Vander Strappen. He's at the event, I believe, right now.
Oh wow.
So,
Hi Brandon.
so at the end of my speech, no one knows until they know now, but somehow the AV, the time clock, they put it as red 12 minutes too early, which is literally a quarter of my speech.
Oh
So all of a
man.
sudden, I'm like, well, I'm not a person that goes over time. So I will be of integrity, right? So if it says I'm over, I got to get off the stage as fast as possible. So I had to shove the last like 12 minutes, which is a good long time, into like 2.5 minutes somehow and get off the stage. And then I get back there and come to find like it was a mistake. And they had to like kill time because I was like off 10 minutes early. So it really,
Oh,
no
I
one
love
would
that you're
know.
sharing that. I love
I did
it.
I
You're
did
just
my thing.
honest.
It's fine though. I mean, it's the nature of our world. The one thing is I've always been told is you never have an event go over. Like I will never be the cause of an event going long. So if it goes red, I get off. So it's fine. But the sucky part was I wanted to share with everybody like the book I gave them. It's not just a book. Like it's a few chapters, but the first section is all the slides of the event. So I totally forgot to
Oh.
like, hey guys, the slides are in there if you want to go back and recap. So like I got out of there so fast I missed some things, but that was it.
Well,
Emma Jean
everyone that's
Author, hey,
joining
glad you enjoyed it.
the
Huh?
girls, or everyone that's not just the girls, but everyone that's joining that's there, now they know.
Now
Go
they
in,
now they know. Now you
now they
guys
know.
know. But
So
I had a
this
flash.
was,
I lost my voice a little bit because I get loud sometimes. It's coming back already. I got my tea this morning. But yeah, no, it was a great time. I had fun. I got back last night. I'm up and active today. I got a podcast with Marie Forleo in like an hour and a half or so, and I'm just living my life, hanging out with Atlanta.
I'm loving it. I really just, you inspire us so much. And I obviously have the honor to have you as my coach, and you obviously the reason how the revive came about. Like you were the one that pushed me towards it, and like I
Yeah.
needed someone like Anthony Trucks that shouts and takes no prisoners. He's like, no, you're not shrinking back, girl. You just so
Go
I
build
love
it.
and appreciate you.
Yeah.
There is so sorry, I don't know, I've got a frog in my throat. Like I this
Yeah,
whole week
you
every
ate the
time I
frog.
show up,
You must have got up and ate the frog this morning. You got that thing done, so it's stuck in your throat.
every time I show up live, I'm like, oh, there's a frog in my throat. But I'm doing this. I'm doing this. So every time we work with girls and also connect with girls, and I think it goes both ways. It's not just a women thing. That there's this issue, and obviously I'm like, you know my heart. I'm like, the time to shrink back is no more. It's done. It
Yeah.
is done. Like
Yeah.
we need to step up and
Push.
rise. And especially with we both know what identity can do for you. That identity shift and identity alignment. And what I've noticed is that the majority of people have this thought, if you take the layers off, like self-doubt, yes, but that thought that they stuck with is I'm not enough.
Yeah, that's one that's
I'm
supposed to
not
run a lot.
enough.
Not enough. And here's the thing. I think inevitably that's a first stop because we don't have that thing. So the comparison tells me, well, if I don't have that and I want it, I must not be enough for it. And I don't, it's interesting because I want to say it's partially right, but it's partially wrong. I think to say that I'm not enough and assume you can't be more is the problem.
Yeah.
There is a level of saying like maybe I'm not enough of a good husband, right? So I got to show up in different ways to be a better husband. Right? Maybe I'm not enough of a good coach. I got to be a better coach, right? It doesn't mean I'll never be enough, but the assumption that I think people go and say you are enough as you are for that thing you want. It's like, ooh, it's not to say that when I say this, I'm not saying that you're less than or I'm taking anything from that perspective, but I am saying there's got to be a realization that it's okay to assess myself and go, I'm not showing up enough here. I'm not learning enough. I'm not applying enough, right? It doesn't mean I as a human being am less than. It just means that how I'm expressing this does need to level up. If I don't grab that level of I got to do more, I don't do more. And therefore I don't have that next level thing. So yeah, there is an inherent seed in us. And I think if we can just have a conversation around it internally and go, look, it's okay to assess and reflect and go, I need to do better. And it doesn't mean that you are less than. It just means that you, as you are, need to do better if this is what you want. Now, if you don't care for that, cool. You probably are 100% enough for the life you're living right now. But if you do have a dream for this up here, we got to elevate a little bit.
Yeah. And it's basically just, like you said, reflect and assess, see where obviously you have this dream or this goal or whatever, this purpose that you want to go after, but there's going to be work that needs to be done. So it's basically you are enough as you were created enough, but we need to take action, and that action is gonna we're gonna have to do some work, put some work in. Otherwise, you're gonna live like you need to for in order to rise to the next level, you need to move your feet.
Yeah,
And you need to put the work in.
It's gonna be stuff you don't want. It's gonna be stuff that tests every bit of your soul and energy and your confidence. Because in order to get that, it's a gift, and you don't get a gift for free. Like I have people in my life that give me gifts. It's not because they just met me; it's because we established a relationship that took time to develop. So I gave them a gift of my friendship, right, and how I show up in the action. So I get a gift back. My birthday, right? So for example, but if you want that gift of that next access point of life, right, that we all have access to, if you want to make some more money, if you want to have better relationships that bring you joy and they give you thorough expansion of experience of life, right? Those are things you have to pour into. And it's going to be a ton of action that when you face it, it will suck. Like it just does. It's a natural, your stomach twists up and you feel awkward. But that's the moment where you now have a realization of, okay, well, if this is what I'm stuck at, if I get past this, I now get access to the next level.
Yeah.
I'm not Trent School Plus Kids. I'm Anthony. But Trent went on today. He has longer hair.
You have a photo of him on your IG, isn't it?
I might have him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think
probably someone taking pictures again. I just saw him yesterday. Maybe I'm on his because he took a picture and didn't give it to me.
Oh, there you go, Anthony.
No, there's my name. I think that's the right name.
Yeah. Really, honestly, I feel when we do something meaningful, when it's something that's going to add value, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Coach, I felt like I need to become fearless. You know, that headline, like, be fearless. And I'm like, man, I've been waiting for years to be fearless. And it never happens. And I came to the realization that it will always be present. When you do something meaningful, you're going to feel like your knees are shaking. You're going to feel like that resistance because you're moving out of your comfort zone. And these dreams that we have is going to cause us to step out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, I don't think you have like a lack of fear. I think fearless is to say I have no fear. And I don't think that's real. So I went out to talk to about 3,000 plus people yesterday. And to say there's no fear around doing my thing and messing up would be asinine. It's not the truth, right? However, it's the courage that arrives.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's the fear. Do I have courage to cover it? And the courage shows up in the actions you take in the direction of the fear. Because here's the really interesting thing that I don't think most people comprehend is the reason you are afraid of that thing is because for some reason it's important to you. Well, so it wouldn't be fearful. It wouldn't be scary. If for example, I'm not afraid of, stacking garbages by the side of the truck to come. But if I was a garbage man and I knew that the garbage people knew I was a garbage guy, I might, and it's like my boss, right? It's important that I stack it right. So I may have fear around, I don't want to mess up the stacking of the garbage, right? It's a whole different situation because
Yeah.
I essentially have this perspective. This is important to me. And once it becomes important, now we get the fear, and that I think is a really good like notification, like, hey, you're afraid of this thing. Great. There's a reason why you're afraid, because it could mean something for you. Let's go create the courage to go and do this thing. And that courage, when you actually apply it and succeed, creates the confidence so there's less fear later on.
Yeah, that whole loop of the more you do, the more you step out, you feel more confident and you
Yeah.
feel more confident. Like
Yeah.
courage, it's like a muscle you train. You
Yeah.
athlete, it's confidence is not something you are born with. And I thought you either have it or you don't. And if you don't, sorry
No,
for
you don't
you.
get it. It's
You
it's
don't.
you know,
It's
it's something to actually go. But I think confidence comes from proof. Like it's something is a lot of people lack confidence. The imposter syndrome comes in, right? Who am I to do this, or can I do this? And there's those quiet little thoughts. And the thing that ends up happening is we don't take the courageous actions to create the proof that creates the confidence.
yeah,
Because there's that little skip in between. It's like, all right, I'm taking a courageous step and doing my thing. How do I get confidence from this? Well, if you do this thing and you fail, you don't get great confidence, right? You're like, oh, I suck, right? But the idea is if I do this thing and succeed, I have now proof that I can do this thing, which creates the confidence. And
yeah,
so the idea is like, how can you stack proof? It may be small little bouts of proof over time that create this separation, right? But if you don't take a courageous action, you don't actually get the outcome that gives you that proof of, look, I can do this. And again, it's not going to happen because you wake up one day. The only time it takes place is when you do that thing you do not want to do.
I totally agree with you. I'm like, you need to get on that bicycle, and you tell us that. Well, you don't use the bicycle, but the bicycle spoke to me when I was speaking to some of the women in the group, and like, you need to get on the bicycle. The steering wheel is fine. God will take care of that. But you need to move your feet. You
Yeah,
need to move your feet, otherwise you will fall over. And
true.
like you said, we need to take and you speak about with the coaching, you're like, you only need to figure out the first step. You don't need to have this whole thing figured out. And then when fear is present again, use it as your fuel. Like
Yeah,
it's a gift that it's there because it's
yeah.
so meaningful. It's almost
That's
like an indication that you're moving in the right direction.
100%. Because the more you move, the clearer it gets. It's like walking into a forest. Most people want to have a flashlight that goes all the way through the forest. And the truth is, you'll never have a flashlight that shines straight to the forest. However, when you take a step in, if that flashlight shines 6 feet, well, now every step in, you're going 6 feet out from there. So every step you take, it's clarifying a little bit farther, a little bit farther, a little bit farther. But if you say, I'm not going to go into the forest until I can see the other side, you never enter the forest. So the idea is, how can I take the step in, realizing I'm going to see a little bit farther down the path, and that is going to help clarify the next step as I go in. So I just got to take the first step.
That is so good. That is so good. Coach, so you obviously identity was a big thing for you. Like, how did you, like your past and everything that was almost like counting against you, how did you make that shift where you like, this is my past, this is what's been dealt, but this is how did you make that? How did you do that? How did you step out of
I
it?
think at first we all do it by survival, right? So I did the same thing I tell people. We got to be courageous, take action. So I just started doing things, and a lot of it was like I got curious about something, which created a little passion for something I found out about, and then I was like, all right, I'll go do this, and then it's scary, right? But for me, it's like I was running from way behind the ball. So I think for me, one of the things was big is like, well, it can't get worse, right? The only thing gets worse is if I don't do anything. If I do nothing, it gets worse. On
Yeah.
top of that, the best opportunity and chance I have for it to get better is to do something. So I've always been a guy of like, I'm just going to do something. I don't like to sit around with idle hands. I got to find something to do. And so I went through my process and I applied it a lot of different times in life without, I think, fully comprehending I was applying it, just doing things. And then it got to a point where I was pointed out by somebody else, like this aspect of identity. So in doing so, I went back and recalled and like looked at life again, we'll say, and uncovered like the process and the things I've been doing, where that little nuance was for me and for honestly everybody else I'd ever seen that's been successful. And so that's where kind of the identity thing was like, wow, if people could navigate the understanding of where identity fits in and then also the application of how you shift your identity. Because like you've done, right? If you look back a year ago, you're different, right? The way that
Yep.
you show up, how you coach people, how you are, I'm sure, as a mom and a wife, like there's a different sense of probably pride, right? But that identity shift came at the same time as you taking action to achieve what you've achieved in a business that's running and having coaching clients, right? That wasn't accidental. It wasn't because you just woke up one day. It's because you put work and effort into a direction, understanding two things. One, I'm doing it to achieve, but the other part, I'm doing it to transform. And in that process, you created this thing, right? That's the revive method. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I did is I went and did that, and then now I teach that.
No, it is your identity, I feel is the key. If you
Yeah.
have that identity, if you have your identity rooted, becomes your unstoppable, unshakable truth foundation, and you start living from that, and you do things courageous and brave, and you just go after the things that you want to, because
Yes.
you know who you are, and
Yeah.
the things
100%.
that's been dealt with, and you just rise from that foundation.
It's
I want to,
powerful.
coach, I know we said only 15-20 minutes. Is there
Yeah.
anyone that wants to jump quickly
They
on
hop
the
on. I
live
see
with
Ashley's on
us?
there. Ashley May's in the room. Hey, Ashley. But
Yes,
yeah, anybody else
Ashley
wants to join, by
girl.
all means. It's fine.
I
I
just
had weird.
feel,
Go ahead.
sorry coach, I just feel like
Okay, you talk. I'm gonna stop talking.
you sorry, I just feel I've listened enough to people just for hours and hours, and like, these people that actually join us have an incredible voice and insight, and that we can just create a space for them to use their voices and also take brave, courageous action by doing this.
Yeah.
Like, just press that
Hop on.
request button and
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And this is a safe space. Anthony won't shout at you. I will.
No, I don't do any of that. That's not my coaching style. I'm not a yeller or a shouter. I'm a intrinsic drive. Like, what do you want to do, and then hold you to the fire that you want to create. So that's kind of how I operate. But no, I was thinking, like, I don't know, on the plane ride there or back, I can't remember which one, but I had this thought about, like you ever have a power block you plug in the wall and you can plug a bunch of plugs into it. I feel like the way that I look at identity, it's kind of like it's you can plug into one source and do one thing, right? But the reality is, if I really want to turn all things on, I want to turn the business plug on, right, which could be the fan. I want to plug the computer, which is the relationship. I want to plug in, I don't know, maybe the PlayStation system, which, could be like my health. These plugs, they plug into one power block that will power them all, and that power block becomes us. And that identity is the power that runs through. Because if not, everything gets disconnected. So you got to kind of, there's like something there I got to flesh out of thoughts. But I feel like there's something in this concept of, like, the power block. We are the thing that gives power to all these different areas when plugged into us. And our identity needs to make sure that it's powering all of them properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone got a question? Anyone? One question we have.
Oh, no questions. And then I got
You're gonna run.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to ask Mr. Anthony Trucks a question?
I got a Bob. Look, hold on.
I saw that. That is so cool. You've arrived. When you have that, you've arrived.
How cool
is that? You should put
it
in your car.
These guys made a bobblehead of mine.
That's so cool. I saw it.
That's so nice.
Coach,
anyway, someone says, how many identity shifts can you have in your life, and is it good to have multiple? Oh, man, great question. Well, you have different identities, right, in different areas. So the way I am here with you is different than with my kids or with my wife or on a stage, right? Completely different. And I think in all those areas, every time you level up in some capacity, you've made a shift. Because it's a shift is a word that's in that space because it doesn't have to be huge. It can be a small, simplistic thing where it's essentially like, I could have shifted a single perspective in the way that I parent my kids, and so the relationship can be better, right, in time. And I think you have many throughout your life. I find that those who don't are the ones that are usually stuck or stagnant or unhappy, because the only reason they're still there is because their identity doesn't match the dream. The dream is to have this and do this, but they can't seem to get themselves to be the person that has that. So I feel that identity gap, right? So anytime it happens, it could be small, it could be large, but I think they're continuous over time in our life. I don't think there's any number that is one I could put on. I've had multiple in all areas of life, multiple times over. And so I think the beauty is, can you consistently be in a flow of shifting as opposed to having to wait till you notice that gap and then have to make the shift. And so it's kind of like going like this as opposed to just fluidly going through life.
Yeah. I hope that is a great answer. Thank you for that question. Yeah, so Coach, I felt like this obviously reflecting and elevating what I want, assess what I want, and then doing that identity alignment, start seeing myself as that person, even though I haven't achieved it yet. So showing up even before, like, I want to create a business. If I don't take action as that person, what does a person that owns a business do? They don't sleep until 10 in the morning. They show up, they do the work. So start taking action as that business owner in the now already. Like, see yourself as that. Show up as that.
You have to, because if you don't, you never get that outcome. So it's part of it. But the idea is, how do I do it and feel like I'm the person to do it? And the reality is, when you're taking these steps, you don't want to connect and attach your identity to the outcome of what that great business. You attach it to the efforts that are in line with your ideal identity, your zone identity, right? So it's like, what does that identity do? Can I feel confident in alignment with me taking the effort towards the action? And if I take the action, I feel like, oh, good, I'm doing things that are in better direction, right? But I may not be there yet. So it's kind of like saying, when I was a speaker, I didn't go, I'm a great speaker. I was like, I'm trying to be a great speaker. I'm doing the work to become a great speaker, right? So I could now show up, do what that identity does, and not feel like an imposter, not feel inadequate, because I'm owning openly, I'm putting the effort in. I can go on a stage and bomb, but at days it's going to be one of the last times I bomb, right? Because I'm going to continue to get better. I'm not saying, look at me, I'm amazing. I'm saying, look at me trying to do the work to become amazing.
Yeah. Ashley said, it's the who before the how. Amen. That is so
Fernando's on here too. We got some good people on. This is a good time to get Ashley on. Fernando Lopez. What's up, guys? Yeah. It's one of those things, man. And that's why I'm happy that people are understanding this identity conversation. I had a really great conversation with a guy named Myron Golden at the event. And he opened up my perspective biblically in terms of how the be, do, have, which is the principles for identity, show up in the Bible. And it's interesting because he talks about how it's like the be in the very beginning says be fruitful, right? Which is be fruitful. I'm a butcher. The way he said it was amazing. But he's like, he didn't say have fruitfulness. He says be fruitful, which is a being thing. Be a fruitful person, right? Then it's more of like in the doing is, go out and create or, take care of the world. Like, it's like doing things, building, create. I can't think what it was. It was like doing. So like be, do, and then, I think something like have dominion over the world. I think it was like dominion over the earth and all of its creatures, something like that. So it's have these things, right? So biblically, and I just heard it a couple days ago, and I got to go research myself so I can talk about it thoroughly and openly. But I love how you framed it, because essentially the Bible opens up in its first discussion about man in a way that's about identity from this framing. Be fruitful, do whatever, like take something, and then have dominion over the earth, right? So it's be, do, and have is right there. I love that. Blew my mind, and I love it. So,
identity crisis is actually all through the Bible. That is the only thing that's been keeping us hostage, is the identity. It's in the identity. I work with the 3Ds. This is how I run. With discipline, determination, I call it the 3Ds. Discipline, determination, and the Lord. I need the Lord.
There you go. The Lord.
The Lord.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Coach, for serving us and inspiring us. I really love and appreciate you. And I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. See you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. And my most important thing is my family. Last question.
Yes. The family.
The family. All right. See you.
Bye, Coach.